Right, there we go. Nice and loud. I'd just like to start by thanking the organizers of the Cannabis Expo for bringing this groundbreaking event to South Africa. It's the second one now, and as you can see, it's a rip-roaring success. Thank you very much to them for giving us a sponsored stand. And thank you also to our main sponsors and affiliate company, BioLeaf Technologies. You cannot believe that there are so few companies that have really supported legalization in South Africa. And I can tell you that BioLeaf is right there up at the top. So please come past our stand and give the BioLeaf guys a big nod. As well as opposite us is Green Thumb Hydroponics and the Hyco. The Hyco are the woolies of weed. We love them to bits. They're family. They've been with us since the beginning, and they sell the best bongs in the land. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we are joined by 60,000 of our Facebook followers. I've got my amazing tech crew there in the corner, and they're live streaming this on Facebook and on the Dagga Couple YouTube channel. So if you'd like to get on your phone and share the link to the Dagga Couple YouTube channel if you want anybody else to watch this speech. And just to introduce myself, after all of that unashamed marketing material, my name is Myrtle Clarke, and I'm one half of the Dagga couple. Today I'm actually the Dagga single because my partner Julian is at home. He is busy frantically preparing for South Africa's biggest cannabis party. Now, you know, expos are all well and good, and it's all about business, and it's all about promoting the industry and growing the industry. But as stoners, we love to party. So in 2 weeks' time, on 4/20, Easter Saturday, Valbon Estates, just outside Johannesburg in Modderfontein, please come and blaze it up with us. It'll be a private event, attended by adults only, so we are well within the law according to the Constitutional Court judgment. You can get tickets on our website from Quicket, and it's only 2 hours for UKPs to fly there. And it really is guaranteed to be the best weed party you've ever been to. Now let's get back to the business at hand. I am Managing Director of Fields of Green for All, which is South Africa's only cannabis legalization non-profit company. We were formed in 2013 in response to the need for advocacy, the need for fundraising, and the need for support for our legal challenge. We are supported by our affiliate companies and an amazing legal team. And we were intervening parties in the Constitutional Court judgment that happened in September last year, which means that we joined with Jeremy Acton and Gareth Prince and all of the other defendants from the Western Cape. We added our evidence from our trial of the plant, which happened in Pretoria. We added to the Constitutional Court case. And the result of that was what we call the privacy judgment. But you know, one of the realities of life is that it ain't over till it's over. And that is why I have called my talk today the transition between a movement and an industry. We've spent the last 8 years fighting, shouting, crying, weeping, laughing, gnashing our teeth to get to this point where there's some movement in the law. But another reality is that you cannot get what you want unless you know what you want. Now, the government is going to change the law. They have to. They've been ordered to change the law by the Constitutional Court. But what are they changing the law into? This is a question that not many people can answer in South Africa. Everybody's running around, peddling their weed, not peddling their weed, getting their businesses together, talking to each other, having expos and meetings and whatnot. But there doesn't seem to be many people that are actually writing down on a piece of paper what they want the new law to look like. So Fields of Green for All, because we have a responsibility as a civil society organization, have put together a discussion document. The cover is there in front of you. Now, this is just a discussion document. It is 44 pages long. It gives you a summary of everything that we need to cover in changing the law. We still need to expand this into about 600 pages so that when we go to Parliament, to that portfolio committee, we can go and say, right, here's the law, here's the regulations, give us what we want. Our case as the Dagga couple is not over. It's been postponed to 2021. If the government do not give us what we want, we will go straight back to court. We will go straight back to court and do it all over again. So they had better give us what we want because we know what we want. So what is it that we want? This is the contents page of our little document. So if you want a brief summary, please pick up a copy at our stall. They're only 20 Rand because that's what it cost me to print them. But we're very poor, so we need to charge you the 20 Rand. So if you go through the contents page and you see something that you think we've left out, please let us know. Or if there's something that you think is wrong, that you disagree with, please let us know. This document has been open for public comment since March last year, and we are considering every single comment that comes in via our website. Now, when we registered Fields of Green, we had a plan. We had to have a plan, because we'd never had an NGO before. So we did our homework, and we made this plan. We had to know what we needed to put in. We had to know what our activities had to be. We had to know what our outputs were. What were we putting out there into the world? And what result did we want from this particular legalization effort? So if you are planning a cannabis business, an association, a private social club, a large commercial grow, a medical enterprise, you'd be really well to do your homework. Now, I don't say this glibly and I don't say this to put anybody down, but you have to have a look at our inbox and you realize that there's lots of people wanting to get into the cannabis business that are just not doing their homework. So slow down, take a deep breath and do it properly. And this is just one example of how you can really be prepared. In order to know what you want, you also need to know where you are standing right now in the world, okay? So when we decided to write these regulations, we first had to look at what the cannabis industry looks like now, okay? You need to know the different types of cultivation, for example. We have indoor, we have greenhouse, we have outdoor. Different things need different types of attention. Who are the people that use cannabis? We have traditional use, we have responsible adult use. We never use the word recreational, by the way, it sounds flippant. We have industrial use, we have health uses. Now, the use of cannabis is so very, very, very important to us that we've used these 4 headings: traditional, responsible adult, health, and industrial, as a way to organize our evidence in court. So if you go to our website and you want to see what our evidence was, it'll be categorized according to those 4 platforms of use. Now, one of the things that was never covered in the Constitutional Court judgment was the harms of cannabis or the actual use of cannabis. Now, I don't know about you, but this privacy thing is not quite enough. Why must we hide away? Why is this a Cannabis Expo and we're not even allowed to smoke weed outside? Because people are still convinced that they are regulating plutonium. I'm not saying that cannabis is harmless. We never had said that cannabis is harmless. We've also never have said that cannabis is going to save the world, because it's not. It's going to help, but it's certainly not going to save the whole world. So let's get realistic here. We need to address this whole thing of harms. People who think it's harmless are wrong, and people who think that it's so harmful that we've got to regulate it like plutonium are also wrong. So we need to really remember how many different types of uses there are for this plant in South Africa in order to get logical regulations. So these regulations also have to have some sort of principles. Now, we have all, as a cannabis community, the cannabis culture in South Africa, we are all criminals. Still, the law hasn't changed. Jules and I call ourselves ordinary criminals. We're all criminals, and we're used to operating on the underground. We're used to skelleming around and dodging and hustling and whatever. But this has taught us a whole lot of skills. And even in the underground, in the illegal market, those people who have done really well are those people who have operated with principles. Now, I don't really want to preach to you today, but I'm sick of people being dodgy, and it's usually the new kids on the block who are dodgy. All the old skelms are not dodgy. They're very principled, and they're going to shine in the new regulated market because they've got these principles. So I'll just run through some of them. Cannabis has to be in proportion to the harms. It has to be in proportion to rich people and poor people and everybody in between. I haven't got very much time, so I'm just going to race through them. We need certainties. Too much of this gray area since the Constitutional Court judgment. We need flexibility. We've got to be flexible, and the lawmakers have to be flexible. We need durability. We don't want to have to rewrite the laws in 10 or 20 years' time. We need them to be durable across time. We need transparency and accountability. There's not much of that going around in South Africa. Really, we need transparency and accountability. Nobody is the gatekeeper of cannabis in South Africa. Let me get that clear. Because if anybody is their self-appointed gatekeeper or self-appointed royalty of cannabis, I'm sick of hearing about kings and queens and princes. That just doesn't wash with us, those people who have been fighting for this for so long. You've got to be transparent and accountable, and so far, nobody is in charge. So don't let anybody tell you that they are in charge, because there's nobody in charge. We need capable regulators. We don't need somebody's cousin or auntie or next door neighbor. We need people that are qualified, that are professional, that are unbiased and uncorruptible. We need foresight. We need to be able to plan into the future. We need to engage with all of the people who can predict what's going to happen in the future so that we can have regulations with foresight. In South Africa, very, very important, it has to be relevant to our social context. This is South Africa. It is not Uruguay. It is not Canada. It is not Europe. It is not Australia. The social context in South Africa is very, very important. And the people who have been persecuted by prohibition are even more important. Those people need to be let off the hook, and they need to come up from the underground into the light, and they need to shine in the new dispensation according to cannabis in South Africa. So what do we aim to do? This is very simple. We aim to provide access to improved and affordable health care. We aim to reduce drug-related crime because all of us are not going to be criminals anymore. We aim to protect the young and the vulnerable, both from the perceived harms of cannabis, and we also need to protect the young who need cannabis as a medicine. We need to protect human rights, and we need to provide good value for money. And by value for money, I don't mean to say that Cape Town cheese is too expensive at 100 rand a gram. What I'm saying is that we need, the cannabis regulations mustn't cost the government too much money. Here, I'm going to just go very, very quickly. This is a scale of harms, which our evidence for court was based on. You can see there that alcohol is at the top, psilocybin mushrooms are at the bottom. We have to have regulations according to the harms. Alcohol is far more harmful than cannabis, so we cannot have regulations where the cannabis regulations are stricter than the alcohol regulations. We have to look after our growers. We have to look after a system of hubs where everybody can come together and self-regulate themselves. We have to look after distribution, and we have to look after retail. So for the regulations, these are the 4 main areas. Our growers are according to those different uses that we had before. How are the regulations going to affect our growers? Our hubs. Now, this is an important one, which I'm just going to pause at for 1 minute. What is a hub? A hub can be a co-op. A hub can be a collective. It can be a cannabis social club. A hub is some place where different stakeholders in the cannabis industry come together and collectively deal with things like quality control, byproducts, tax can be paid at source, the cannabis can be sold at an anonymous auction, a hub can provide warehousing, and a hub can provide annual certification. So the hub side of things is probably the most important and the most talked about area of regulation. And this is a discussion that's going to take too long for now, but just remember that, that word hub. Obviously, there's going to have to be a distribution network with its security attached to that. There needs to be a retail network and regulations to go with retail. And there, you'll see on the left-hand side is a slide from earlier, and on the right-hand side is a slide for the plan for our regulations. And if you compare the two side by side, they're not very different. Because what we've got now in South Africa is a highly organized, highly efficient cannabis industry. All that we have to do is take that industry and bring it up into the light. Now, I'm going to pause and drink some water now because I want you to read the slide 10 times. Let's go back, yeah. Myself and my partner, Julian, have been fighting the government in court for the last 8 years. Like hell am I going to ask them for permission to grow my weed. They've had 25 years as our democratically elected South African government to change the laws. They've known when the government have all of their fancy meetings in these fancy places, they all go and smoke weed in the parking lot. They know that it's wrong. It took ordinary criminals like us to go and sue them to get them to change the law. And now I must go and apply to them for a license over my dead body. I'm not sick. I don't want to make socks. If you want to make medicine, yes. Medicinal licenses are already rolling out. If you want SAPRA to be your boss, then go get a medical license. Good luck. You're going to do a lot of good. It's going to be very complicated, but that's the right thing to do. But anybody else, we don't need licenses. Come speak to me if you want to know anything more about that. But we feel very strongly. This is what happened in Lesotho. Suddenly the licenses were 5,000 whatever. Not sure if it's dollars, whatever. Then they went up to 5 million. Ooh, bring me the money, says the Lesotho government. Same with the Zimbabwean government. The international news media is reporting that Zimbabwe has legalized cannabis. That is not true. It's just not true. Otherwise, all the Zimbabweans in South Africa would be going home to grow weed. But they're not, because it's foreigners buying the licenses. So you can sense my exasperation. Somebody said, oh, you're so passionate. Yes, of course I'm passionate. And the license thing is one of the things that we are most passionate about. It should be a business registration. We have something called the CIPC, where you go and register if you want to start a business. Okay, I've only got 2 minutes left. So you need to put systems into place. Security, quality control, education, training, the environment, healthcare, scientific research, hubs and co-ops, Dagga tourism. What about our neighbors? There's all sorts of systems you need to put into place. How are we going to regulate public consumption? How are we going to regulate, what about the children? What about driving? What about transportation? And storage, as Mike from Bovida was talking about. What about drug testing at work? That's one of my absolute worsts. Drug testing at work. Oh, you got weed in your system. We'll just fire you. But we need to, for as exasperated as we are now, for as much work that we still need to do to get what we want, we can also look to the future. We need to engage with government. For as much as the thought of engaging with government makes me quite ill, we have to do it, and we will find a way that it will work out for everybody. We have to look at the support industries around cannabis. Lots of them here today. It's not all about growing weed. There's lots more money to be made in the support industries, I can tell you right now. The bubble's going to burst when it comes to growing weed. We need to look at ways for 21st century technology to help us along the way. Blockchain, Bitcoin, what, I don't know much about it, but technology is the way of the future. We need to educate everybody. We need to look at the international conventions, which we've been working very hard to support change at the international level, at the UN and the WHO. If you look at our blog, you can see about all of our international work. And we need to just stay strong, because it's crazy, crazy world out there. You can help us by sharing all of our stuff on social media. You can join our Green Network, which is 150 Rand a month donation, which is really the inner core of our campaign. We couldn't do it without our Green Network. If you are arrested or have problems with the police, we have a 24-hour Dagga arrest helpline, or any other questions that you might have. My dear Charles is over there. He's the one that mans the phone 24 hours a day. Don't fool yourself. The police are still arresting people. You'll lose your plants. You'll lose your medicine. A bit of a donation never went awry. Please sign our petition. We've got the petition forms at our stall, or you can do it online. And ladies and gentlemen, everything that myself, Julian, our amazing legal team at Schindler's Attorneys, and all of our hundreds of thousands of supporters, all that we want is for South Africa to have fields of green for all. Not some, not those with money, fields of green for all South Africans. So thank you for listening, and we're at the stall if you've got any questions. Thank you.